It was the winter of 1931. The cold wind blew through every crack in the old, small house. Mary stood by the window, looking out at the empty fields. Once, they were full of tall, golden wheat, waving in the warm summer wind. But now, the fields were bare. Just like her hopes, just like the dreams she and her husband, John, had when they moved here. She pulled her shawl tighter around her shoulders. The wind outside was loud, but inside, it was quiet. Too quiet. The children sat by the fireplace, their eyes dull from hunger. They were too young to fully understand, but they knew something wasn't right. Mary could hear the soft grumble of their empty stomachs, a sound she had heard too often in the past months. John sat at the table, his hands rough and cracked, clasped together as if he was praying. He had once been proud, strong, and full of ideas. But the dry land had ruined their crops. The bank had taken their money. And now, what was left he hadn't worked in months. There were no jobs. Not here. Not anywhere. John let out a deep sigh. Mary looked at him, her heart heavy with sadness. She wanted to say something to make him feel better, but what could she say? Words couldn't fill their hungry bellies. Words couldn't stop the cold from getting in. She walked slowly to sit beside him, her hand resting on his. His hand was warm, a small comfort in a world that felt so cold. He didn't look at her, but his grip tightened just a little. That was enough to remind her that they were still together. Somehow, that had to be enough. "We'll get through this," she whispered, her voice quiet. She wasn't sure if she believed it, but she had to say it. For the children. For him. For herself. John nodded, though his eyes stayed on the table. There was a time when they talked about the future, dreamed of what they would build together. But now, the future felt like a big dark cloud, full of uncertainty. Outside, the wind shook the windows. Mary stood and walked to the cupboard. She opened it and stared at the nearly empty shelves. A small bag of flour. A few dried beans. She swallowed hard. Tonight's dinner would be thin again, but it was something. She measured the ingredients carefully, stirring the pot with slow movements. The thin soup bubbled weakly. It wasn't much, but it would have to do. She poured the soup into small bowls and set them on the table. The children, though quiet, came quickly. John finally looked up. They ate in silence, each spoonful a reminder of how hard things were. But as they sat together, sharing the little food they had, there was an unspoken feeling that they understood, they still had each other. And maybe that was enough to keep going.